So here, we're going to talk about the billionaires going to Idaho in July. The Sun Valley Summer Camp. I talked about this earlier on my Instagram story. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. You know, everybody always is upset and feels some type of way about conspiracies, about how, you know, wealthy people get together and secretly decide to do certain things. Like that, to decide about the future of America or the future of the world. It's like they're not doing it in secret, dude. There is no Bohemian Grove. Like, this is straight up, like, Bohemian Grove is just a club. It's a club for rich people to be gay with one another at a time when they were not allowed to be gay in the open, okay? This is the real shit. This is where they go to plot. They do summits. They do Davos, okay? There is no, like, Illuminati. They just do it out in the open, and people are like, no, that's normal. But also Illuminati. It's like, why do you want to make something that occurs right in front of your eyes into something that is even more secretive than it actually is? Like, they don't need to hide any of this stuff. They get together and literally talk about wealth inequality and how to deal with wealth inequality. People still want to act like there is something additionally secret, okay? So let's see what this is about.
How do you know you found a super secret conference full of millionaires and billionaires in the middle of scenic Idaho? Well, you just count the private jets. This is Sun Valley, Idaho, population 1,400. But every July, the net worth of this town gets a major boost when the Allen & Company Conference, also known as Summer Camp for Billionaires, is in session. We're heading to a conference that's so secret it's not actually announced. There's no public guest list. There's no agenda. In fact, the only way we knew it was actually happening was by calling and finding out all the rooms at the hotel were sold out. There's a lot of people I know who think...
I mean, it's like, it's not necessarily a secret. It's just that, I guess it's more secret than, like, Davos. You know what I mean? But journalists are all over this year. I hadn't seen this much coverage of the Sun Valley shit this year. Like, they don't really talk about it like this, and they haven't really talked about it like this until this year. So I guess it's like they're just kind of popping off this year on the conference itself, but it's not exactly a secret.
Think they are big CEOs who've never been invited here. I'm really not sure how much access we're actually going to get. We've been standing right out here for hours. This is as far as we're allowed to go. The press is not allowed to go inside the building, and the organizers will never confirm who's actually here. So the only way to know is actually to stand outside and watch them walk in. Tesla's Elon Musk, Disney's Bob Iger, CBS's Les Moonves, and Home Depot co-founder Ken Langone. These are...
Yeah, it's for like these billionaire freaks to be able to wear Patagonia vests and talk to one another about, like, what they're potentially going to do. Famously, last or 2 years ago, I guess, or whenever fucking Jeff Bezos decided to buy the Washington Post, like, this was the conference where he decided to buy it. It's basically all expenses paid get together. It's thrown by a smaller bank, like a smaller, I think it's a hedge fund or something. The only thing that they demand of you for throwing this is, like, if you put together a deal, like, they want to be in on it. Okay, that's it. They facilitate the deal. Allen & Co. Thank you. That's the name of the bank. Allen & Company is the investment firm. So that's what this is about.
Probably some of the busiest people on the planet. So I had one question. Why are they all here?
There's nothing like it. This is it. Media, entertainment, special subjects they have. It's a fabulous conference.
But what do you most get out of this conference?
It's mostly about the ability to convene and to communicate directly with a lot of people. It would take me longer to get to all those people than it does here all in one place.
I gotta go.
Nice to see you all.
We needed to be back at 6. Catch the attendees headed to breakfast.
Who knows here? I mean, it's the morning.
So this is how it works. They walk by, sometimes they make a joke, but they're not talking to us. They're not actually answering questions or revealing what's going on at the conference. Everything is treated as off the record, meaning they're not even supposed to talk about being here.
Good morning. Do you have a quick second?
No, I don't. Good morning.
Brian Sutter from CNN, do you have a moment for us? Talk to CNN for a moment?
Why the fuck is Chris Christie there, dude? Like, why does Chris Christie get invited to this? What kind of feedback is Chris fucking Christie going to have? Very strange.
Can you talk to us about Apple News for a moment? Oh?
Now that's a motherfucker that's there for free food, okay? Chris Christie. Same, like if I was invited to some shit, if I was invited to an event, you bet your ass I'm there for free food. So same with Chris Christie.
I don't want to say I'm giving up entirely, but I'm definitely taking a lunch break. Now, thankfully, Hollywood producer Brian Grazer saved me from a sugar overdose and agreed to talk with us off campus about what really goes on behind the scenes.
People aren't here with pads and
Okay, he's never getting invited back.
paper taking notes. They're just getting to know each other, like getting to know how different people live, different people that have expertise, understand their expertise. You know, you see all of the media titans, they're sitting at the same table. They're all hanging out. They, of course, are competing on so many different levels, but in the very end, they all have humanity. They all
Class solidarity. That's literally it. It's class solidarity. The thing that all billionaires and millionaires that are at this event, the thing that they all share is class solidarity. The thing that workers never have and never will have, because the billionaires and millionaires, the capital owners that have that class solidarity, do a very good job of making sure you don't. So guys, how do we fuck up the world for the next year? No, they get together and they talk about what are we going to do about the poors that are fucking losing their minds. That's what they talk about. They talk about, riot tax, aka welfare. How much welfare is actually good? How much should we do to like fight back on climate change? I mean, this is not a secret either. Like, they talk about this openly. If you go to Davos with a quick Google search, you can figure out like what the events are, what the panelists speak about at these sorts of functions. I mean, maybe with this one you can't figure it out because it's less formal. It's not a formal event. But with like Davos and shit and summits, it's literally not a secret. They talk about wealth inequality and how to deal with it. The difference is, when we talk about wealth inequality and how to deal with it, we have drastically different opinions than how they want to deal with it. And the main difference is that the way that they want to deal with it is actually how wealth equality is dealt with in the end, because they have all the power. The number one Davos problem polled was fucking regulation, and the last place problem was climate change. We're all going to die. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's it. They talk about wealth inequality and then, you know, hide their assets in overseas tax havens and make sure to further deregulate the government.
understand how hard the game really is.
I would love to be involved in this in any way, shape, or form. I would die to just like be able to ask questions at an event like this. It would be very interesting.
They want each other to win. They want the business to win.
While my journalistic pride was a little bruised, these executives are encouraged not to talk to people like me. They come here for the opposite reason, to ditch their corporate suits and have some straight talk with their peers. Whatever they're plotting, I certainly don't know what it is yet. But hey, there is always next year.
I mean, I'll tell you what they fucking plotted. The plot that they came up with was not the business plot, which is kind of a funny way to yeah, they're just doing the business plot again, dude. But instead of FDR, but to Joe Biden. So this is from 2015, and this is like ongoing this year as well. But what I was going to talk about is it's still the same shit. It's at the same place in Sun Valley, Idaho. The thing that they plotted was ethical capitalism. Remember that Johnny Harris video that came out about how there could be an ethical stakeholder capitalism? That was what they wanted to rebrand as stakeholder capitalism, like reshifting the effort and energy and the fiduciary responsibility away from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, and adding more emphasis on not necessarily the workers but just the environment, stuff like that. That was what came out of this conference, okay? And as we all know, it's not necessarily a solution. It's always about how to suppress the pores. Like, it's a delicate balance. It's always a delicate balance to give people enough that they don't recognize that they're pushed into a fucking corner and they have to fight their way out of it, but not so much that they are comfortable enough to rise up. If you're well fed, you might be able to actually fight back. If you're starving, then you might actually have no other option but to fight back. So it's always the carrot and the stick, trying to figure out that delicate balance. And that's precisely what they get together and talk about. And it's not even like a hidden idea. It's not like a secret. It's not a conspiracy. Some of those people legitimately think that they have the right opinions in mind, that they feel as though, again, most of those people legitimately feel that capitalism is great and the exploitation under capitalism is far preferable to the exploitation that you experienced in the USSR or whatever the fuck. And so they honestly and earnestly feel as though their opinions and solutions are for the better good without rocking the boat too much. They don't think about it as though they don't think about it from the point of view of like, we have so much wealth that we could single-handedly, like every person there, if they pulled together 1% of their entire net worth, just 0.5% of their entire net worth of all the people that are there, they could solve global power. They could eradicate global poverty. You know, they don't think about that. That's out of the question. It's also not a perfect solution regardless. It would be a band-aid. Give a smart rich guy $1,000, he will invest it and make $1 million out of it. Give a poor guy $1,000 and he will waste it on health insurance and rent. Okay, let's talk about Marvel's Captain America destroying the American dream in the new comic, dude.
Captain America on how America is built on lies. You got to hear this. Here's the quote.
We gotta get Tom Cotton on how Captain America is destroying America and the American dream.
Here's the thing about a dream, though. A dream isn't real. I'm starting to think America actually has two dreams and one lie. The first American dream is the one that isn't real. Is some people expect just to be handed to them, and then they get angry when it disappears. When the truth is, it never really existed in the first place. It doesn't get along nicely with reality. Other culture immigrants. The poor, we're at our best when we keep no one out. A good dream is shared radically, shared with everyone. When something isn't shared, I can become the American lie. I think this is such terrible rhetoric. I mean, it is true.
Why? Captain America is literally always, like, comic books are written by, like, nerdy degenerates, okay? They've always been written by outcasts that have a progressive slant for the most part. So it's not new to assume that comic books would be political, or whether they would have like a more progressive slant to it. But of course, the greatest book of all time that conservatives love is the Bible, and yet they avoid all of the lessons that are supposed to be imparted on you within the Bible.
Prove that we didn't live up to our documents, but the documents weren't flawed. It was the human beings, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lawrence, it sounds like Captain America may need a demotion to lieutenant after that speech. But this is what happens when you allow left-wing activists to write your comic books. Yeah. And it reflects a kind of march through our cultural institutions, comic books, schools, and indoctrinating our kids to believe that kind of nonsense. Over the weekend, you saw the New York Times running a long story about how The flag, for goodness sake, is now a divisive symbol for many Americans. Look, we should be proud of our heritage and our founding principles. 245 years ago this weekend, our founding fathers declared our independence.
Listen, I am so pro free speech. I'm Tom Cotton, and I served in the U.S. military so I could defend your constitutional free speech laws. And what that constitutional free speech law means is that I think every comic book writer that has a leftist idea like equality or dare I say diversity that ever dares criticize America should be lined up against the wall and shot. Okay? That's what American free speech is all about, which is I can say the N-word, but if you criticize America, I will murder you in a prison-style execution, okay? You will get lined up. We will shackle you to a pole and shoot you, okay? Military execution style, brother. That's what I'm here for. I love free speech. I'm a big defender of free speech, which means if you say, slavery was bad, or the Civil War was not the war of northern aggression, that means you deserve to be shot. This is how free speech works, okay? I'm from Arkansas, everybody, which is like Kansas, but with an AR in front of it, if you know what I'm saying. That's why it's extra patriotic.
Not just because of local grievances over taxes or the quartering of soldiers, but because they wanted to found a new republic dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, as Abraham Lincoln said at the Gettysburg Address. Now, we haven't always achieved that in practice, but our history has been one of continually struggling to realize those ideals. That's exactly what Dr. Martin Luther King said in his I Have a Dream speech, in which he explicitly and repeatedly invoked the Declaration and said that our work is the full realization of America's founding principles. We should teach our children, whether it's in the schools or in our movies and television, or yes, our comic books, to be proud of and celebrate America's tradition.
It's pretty funny when, again, people who say shit like, I love freedom of speech, then turn around and in the same fucking light will be like, criticizing America is not a part of free speech. Also, like, Abraham Lincoln famously criticized America violently, actually. MLK, also famous critic of America. And the irony, of course, is that dipshits like this, the older versions of this dipshit, were the same people who were like, MLK's a terrorist and needs to be stopped. The only thing that'll cure MLK is a bullet to the head. That's like the same attitude that his ilk, his kind had. They're just conservatives. This is how they are. Okay?
Traditions.
Right. I mean, the irony, he's Captain America, right, Senator? And I think you're spot on when you talk about this is the latest thing that they're taking over. And it's also self-serving because if the American
comic books have always been fucking woke. It's kind of stupid. The Republican Party during Lincoln literally wanted to abolish wage slavery. Meanwhile, we're fighting for $15 wage. Oh, yeah.
dream is dead. If it's rigged, guess what? We need big government. We need Democrats. So you're spot.
Dude, what the fuck? My man is crying about, like, the American dream being fake in a comic book. The solution to that is, like, literally government interference in the form of Republican legislatures making CRT illegal or whatever the fuck all around the country. And then they advocate for smaller government. You don't want smaller government. You want bigger government. You just want bigger government to do your bidding, which is, of course, a sideshow to hyper focus on and agitate the crowds with when your genuine interests are to keep robbing the American people and never helping them. I hate it, dude. And of course, Captain America, abolish Marvel, says Conceptual James. Captain America has always been a left-leaning character. In Captain America 180 in December 1974, Rogers becomes disillusioned with the United States government when he discovers that a high-ranking government official, heavily hinted to be the then president of the United States, Richard Nixon, is the leader of the terrorist organization known as the Secret Empire. Trump slams indictments against the Trump
NBC's Ali
organization.
Vitale is in Sarasota, Florida, where the former president held a rally last night. Ali, good morning.
Hey, Willie, good morning. Former President Donald Trump back in his home state of Florida last night, but in a New York state of mind, reacting for the first time in public to the criminal indictments by the Manhattan DA against his company and its chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, for what prosecutors called a sweeping and audacious tax fraud scheme. Trump framing the charges as an ongoing political witch hunt that attacks, quote, good people simply for not paying taxes.
I love that he said that. It was my favorite part of the speech where he self-reported that, like, these people did not pay taxes. It's such a weird way to defend an ongoing investigation into your organization not paying taxes. And then he literally said, these people, they're targeting my people for not paying taxes, but they should be targeting murderers instead. It's like the government should not target people who are doing tax avoidance. Or tax evasion, rather.
Never before has New York City and their prosecutors, or perhaps any prosecutors, criminally charged a company or a person for fringe benefits. Fringe benefits. Murder's okay. Human trafficking, no
Yeah, it's just American government said murder's fine, dude.
problem, but fringe benefits.
I love when dumbass, like, small business owners in the background are like, yeah, hell yeah, dude, white collar crime is perfect. It's like, dude, you own a nail salon, okay? You max out at $100K a year. Shut the fuck up. These guys are literally stealing billions of people like yourself who work for them. They're taking billions of dollars of profit from them, designing a system in which where they could, like, openly evade taxes. And it is the reason why your stupid fucking infrastructure is crumbling, okay? Not because, like, Democrats are in charge or whatever the fuck your dumbass hog brain believes, but because straight up people like Donald Trump, or the people that Donald Trump works for when he was president, are making sure that the American coffers are not filled to the brim with the tremendous amount of wealth that the American working class generates for the billionaires and the capital owners. Jesus Christ.
You can't do that.
An important caveat to keep in mind here, Willie, Trump is starting to take a more public posture over these next few weeks, holding rallies to energize the base ahead of the midterm elections, but also to fortify his own political brand. By staying in the political game, teasing another presidential run, and campaigning for MAGA-approved candidates, the former president can more easily try to categorize his multiple legal proceedings as unjust partisan attacks, claims his critics dispute. Willie?
And those indictments in New York may just be the tip of the iceberg. We will see. Ali Vitale in Sarasota, Florida. Ali, thanks so much.
We are going to do a visual investigation, but I do want to watch the New York Times visual investigation. There are some graphic scenes in here of the mob. We're going to do a JCS-style visual investigation into the January 6th. Okay, let's get into it. We're watching the riot.
The flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Creepy as fuck.
They came from all 50 states. Out of some sense of patriotic duty.
It's so much more than just rallying for President Trump. It's really rallying for our way of life, the American dream, against fake news.
To protest an election they believed had been stolen.
We're here, Patriots. We're in Washington, D.C., Capitol building dead in front of us.
Their day of action would be January 6th, when Congress would count electoral ballots and ratify the 2020 election results. For some, it was just a rally for their president. For others, it was a call to arms.
We have the power in numbers. March on Congress directly after Trump's speech.
In the weeks beforehand, there were over 1 million mentions on social media of storming the Capitol. Maps were shared of the building's layout. There was talk of bringing weapons and ammunition, and discussion over which lawmakers should be targeted first. This anger was based on a lie.
This election was a fraud.
A lie that had grown more frenzied after the election.
President Trump won this election.
They were flipping votes.
Steal the election in Philadelphia.
When you win in a landslide, And they
steal the election in Atlanta,
and it's rigged.
steal the election in Milwaukee.
It's not acceptable.
This is outrageous.
A lie spread by the president and his closest allies.
Let's call out cheating when we find it.
Some of whom stoked calls for violence.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Everyone's going to remember who actually stands in the breach and fights tomorrow and who goes running off like a chicken.
We bleed freedom.
This will be their Waterloo.
And we will sacrifice for freedom.
This will be their destruction.
So here's the thing, and this needs to be repeated regularly. Okay, what these guys were doing and what they continue to do is what Republicans have always done. And that is lie about the elections consistently being stolen. That's literally all they fucking do. The only way to justify aggressively limiting who can vote is by originally creating this false notion, this understanding that there is a election that is being stolen by illegal immigrants or whatever the fuck. And everyone, all the way from Donald Trump to all of these other Republicans, down to Paul Ryan, who is seen as like the reasonable Republican, has always cast doubt on the integrity of American elections. The George W. Bush administration, despite doing fraud themselves, literally had a election integrity committee. The Donald Trump administration had an election integrity committee. All of those committees found that there was no electoral fraud, or rather, not electoral fraud, there was no voter fraud beyond such marginal instances that it is laughable to spend any time trying to right this wrong or trying to correct it. The existing measures are more than enough. The real problem in America is not necessarily that too many people are voting. It's that not enough people are voting. Let's keep going.
What happened next was chaos,
They broke the glass.
insurrection,
Take it now! Treason!
death. Then there began a campaign to whitewash history, starting at the top.
It was a zero threat. Right from the start, it was zero threat.
And spreading throughout the Republican Party.
Even calling it an insurrection, it wasn't. By and large, it was peaceful protest.
One lawmaker who helped barricade the House doors now suggests there was barely any threat.
If you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
A tourist visit?
I mean, they're not wrong. Cops did open up the floodgates, as you would a normal tourist visit. I'm confused. I wonder if this congressperson always barricades the doors at the normal tourist visits that are happening. I mean, there is no better. We talk about this and it's a fucking cliche, but I mean, this is literally like, well, it's okay if white people are doing it. That's it. Well, are they conservative? Are they white? It's all right then. They're not terrorists. They're doing it for a good cause, brother. They're not insurrectionists. They're doing it for a good cause, brother. That's it.
This was not. And the proof is in the footage. As part of a 6-month investigation,
Dude. 5 people die at the Capitol every day, dude. I mean, normal tourist visits end up with 5 dead, like, all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. With, like, cops being trampled. You know, people violently breaking into the Capitol literally every day.
The New York Times has collected and forensically analysed thousands of videos, most filmed by the rioters themselves. We obtained internal police radio traffic and went to court to unseal police body cam footage. Our reconstruction shows the Capitol riot for what it was: a violent assault encouraged by the president on a seat of democracy that he vowed to protect. We'll chart how police leaders failed to heed warnings of an impending attack, putting
the most beautiful part about this all was that it was conservatives, therefore they had no care in, they were so confident that nothing was going to happen to them that they literally live streamed them breaking into the fucking Capitol.
rank and file officers in danger.
Pretty awesome.
We'll track key instigators in the mob, taking advantage of weaknesses in the Capitol's defences to ignite a wave of violence that engulfed the building. We'll show for the first time the many simultaneous points of attack and the 8 breaches of what appeared to be an impenetrable institution of government. We'll show how the delay to secure Congress likely cost a rioter her life.
But when it's BLM protests, they conveniently have enough police to squash them. Shut up, dude. You're talking to me, or are you talking to the person who's making this video? I mean, we watched videos from that day where cops literally let them in and were high-fiving them and taking photos with some of the people. There are currently ongoing investigations within the Capitol Hill Police Department, which is obviously not going to go anywhere because, come on, cops investigating other cops, that will look into whether or not there was a little bit of inside baseball. If you think that a crowd of black people upset about the way policing works in this country would be able to get this far into the Capitol building, you are delusional. Into Congress, you are out of your mind. That was just never, ever happened.
And how for some, storming the Capitol was part of the plan all along.
In fact, tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested. Well, let's not say it. We need to go. I'll say it.
It's literally a Nazi, dude. It's baked Alaska. The Nazi has better wherewithal than the Trump supporter boomer. I'll say it. I'll say all the bad things. I'll say it.
All right. We need to go in to the Capitol. Let's go!
He just said, shut the fuck up, boomer.
It's the morning of January 6th, and thousands are filling the National Mall in Washington. Trump will speak here at the Ellipse, a large park near the White House and a half-hour walk to the US Capitol, where the election will be certified. Who's actually in this crowd? Most are citizens who believe Trump's lie that the election was stolen.
It's going to be a great day. It's going to be wild, as Trump says.
But we also see more extreme groups who've gained a following during Trump's presidency. There are followers of the QAnon conspiracy,
Drinking their blood, eating our babies.
who believe that Trump is facing down a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles. Q posts often invoke notions of patriotism, and ahead of January 6th, some supporters call for violence. The Oath Keepers, a far-right paramilitary group, are also here.
We have men already stationed outside D.C.
Their leader has said the group is ready to follow Trump's.
That guy, Stuart Rhodes, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, has a really funny story where I'm almost certain that has an eye patch because I think he's a gun safety instructor, and I think he took out his own eye with a gun, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I was right. He literally, he took out his eye while working as a firearm safety instructor.
Trump's orders and take members of what they call the deep state into custody. They're organised, staging their military-style equipment neatly on the ground, and later they put on body armour, talk on radios, and chat with their supporters on a walkie-talkie app called Zello.
We have a good group. We got about 30, 40 of us. We're sticking together and sticking to the plan. Y'all, we're 1 block away from the Capitol now. I'm probably going to go silent when I get there because I'm going to be a little busy.
Another group is the Proud Boys. They're far-right nationalists who flash.
I love that they have Enrique Tarrio did nothing wrong shirts, and the real reason why Enrique Tarrio wasn't even there was because he was brought in on gun charges the day before, because he's literally a fucking Fed. Like, he's literally an asset for, I guess, the FBI. Like, that's literally what fucking people do to their CIs, okay? They pull out their informants in instances where their informants are probably gonna be faced to do something like that will land them in trouble. I mean, these hogs, they deserve everything that's coming.
White power signs throughout the day.
Check out all this testosterone.
They became a household name when Trump invoked them during a presidential debate.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
And that's what they did. They have a history of street violence and will be key instigators of the riot. We'll return to them soon. Although the rally is billed as a political protest, some make calls to storm the Capitol even before Trump speaks.
We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction.
And later, when Trump does take the stage,
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
some hear his words as a call to action.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Invade the Capitol building.
Do the right thing.
Take the Capitol. Take it. Take the Capitol. Take the Capitol. Take the Capitol right now.
We'll soon be marching over to the Capitol building.
2 hours before this, the Proud Boys were already heading for the Capitol.
How could they have gotten this idea? Where could they have gotten this idea to march and storm the Capitol? That's so strange. It's kind of interesting the way that they shot this, though. When they put it side by side, it clearly, paints a much better picture.
They're clearly spoiling for a fight with far-left agitators like Antifa, who they believe...
By the way, you know they knew they fucked up because the original counter to this, even though it was like literally indefensible, was Antifa must have done it, if you recall. And that is basically the greatest self-report of all time. Because like, oh, our people could not have done such a thing. It must have been Antifa. As in, what happened there was unacceptable. So that kind of made it a little bit harder for them to go back and then try to defend the actions.
believe are in DC.
Where's Antifa?
But there are moments that suggest another motive.
Take the fucking Capitol. Come on, tighten up. Come on, boys. Let's not fucking yell that. All right?
They're organised too. Many are marked with orange tape or hats.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys. And those are the boys marching with us. We got hidden guys everywhere.
They're wearing body armour, carrying baseball bats, and using radios.
That's affirmative. Jesse, this is Tucker.
Leading them is Ethan Nordine, who's been entrusted with so-called war powers. He's joined by other well-known Proud Boys, like Joe Biggs, an organiser from Florida, Dominic Pezzola, a former Marine, and Billy Crestman. They will be among the first rioters inside the Capitol building.
Proud Boys.
As Trump is speaking,
They're just having fun with their bros, brother. I didn't know that was illegal. That's what the libtards want. They want to make fun illegal, brother. Unacceptable, let me tell you. They want to take our fun time away. And I fucking hate it, brother. I despise it.
speaking, some of his other supporters also head to the Capitol.
Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
And the tone is becoming menacing.
We're gonna storm the fucking Capitol! Fuck you fuckers!
USA! USA!
We are gonna be doing crimes. I'm gonna be doing federal crimes in a moment. Do you understand me? I will be doing felonies, sir. Do you have this in 4K? Look at my face. My name is John Haverton Carlson III. Okay? I'm from Arkansas. Do you understand? I own an HVAC company and I am doing a felony. Okay? Watch me do felonies.
Just ahead, officers guarding the building are understaffed and ill-equipped for what's coming their way.
You gotta stop us!
The building is more than 2 football fields in length, and barricades erected on the east side are defended by just a few dozen officers. The west side, facing Trump's rally, is even lighter. The fencing has been extended, and on the northwest approach only 5 officers stand guard. Around 5 also defend the southwest approach. A few more dot the lawn. and about a dozen officers are
literally understaffed because they were too busy participating in the fucking insurrection. Oh man. I fucking love, dude. This was the greatest hog content of all time. Like, it was also in many ways perfect because like yeah, liberals say like this is, you know, this is the worst thing that happened. This is like 9/11. I disagree. It was like, it was a hog insurrection. So it was content. It was. And it was laughable.
behind them.
Luckily.
Plans to storm the Capitol were made in plain sight, but the FBI and Department of Homeland Security did not deem those threats as credible.
We will take that building!
Capitol police leaders and Washington's mayor were warned at least 3 times of violent threats, but also didn't take them seriously or circulate that information. And they declined offers of security personnel from federal and other agencies. They could have enlisted several hundred more Capitol Police for duty on January 6th, but did not.
We are taking our house!
And none of the officers on the barricades have protective gear or crowd control equipment. As a result, the Capitol is sparsely defended. It's 12:50 p.m. and a large group of Proud Boys is with other protesters right by the Capitol Police line.
I got a feeling they believe those 5 officers are going to stop some shit.
Joe Biggs is rallying them when he's approached by Ryan Samsel, a Trump supporter from Pennsylvania. They chat, we don't know about what. But a minute later, Samsel is the first to approach the police line. And it's now that the protest turns violent. Without hesitation, the crowd overpowers the police.
It's just so weird because, like, they talked about how they were going to do this, and authorities knew that they were going to do this, and yet they didn't, like, staff appropriately for this sort of thing. That part is kind of weird to me, and will still continue to be weird to me. That is the suspicious part about this process, is that they just kind of let it happen.
Nearby, a second group breaks through on another approach. Others jump fences. And now hundreds of rioters rush forward on several fronts.
DC is a...
Honestly, it was probably Obabe. It was Obabe's fault, brother. I realize that wearing an incel shirt with gun holsters makes it a little bit more weird. I should probably just wear like my regular K Kona stuff instead of that.
Motherfucking war zone! Fucking war! Forward!
Police retreat to the Capitol building, where it's becoming more threatening.
This is what we came for, yeah!
A mob mentality begins to take hold. Police are so outnumbered, they're forced to retreat again to more tightly defend access points to the Capitol. It's now 5 minutes into the siege that the Capitol Police Chief calls for backup from local law enforcement, known as the Metropolitan Police, and asks other Capitol leaders to mobilize the National Guard.
You took an oath! Does that not mean a damn thing to you, does it?
Metro Police...
Yeah, you're supposed to let us in, motherfucker. Took an oath. You're supposed to protect and serve the whites. The whites. You son of a gun.
Police will arrive within 15 minutes, but for reasons we'll explain later, the National Guard won't arrive for over 4 hours.
Back up!
Meanwhile, more Capitol Police come to reinforce the line. It's the first time we see officers in riot gear. But most are missing their shields because they had not prepared to unlock the storage area where that equipment is kept. Proud Boys like Billy Crestman keep rallying the mob.
Whose house is it? Do you want your house back? Take it! Take it!
Yes, a fun fact is a big chunk of the police force are just conservative, straight up.
And again, they start brawling with the police. Minutes later, reinforcements from the Metro Police arrive. A high-ranking Metro officer immediately calls for more backup.
Get you 12 up to help maintain the lines. They're throwing firecrackers.
Oh! God damn, dude, that's crazy. He just lobbed the grenade right at him.
They struggle to subdue rioters, who respond with their own chemical spray. And within 30 minutes, the police already have casualties.
Multiple capital injuries.
This first wave of rioters battling police has paved the way across Capitol grounds for others to follow. And after Trump finishes speaking, thousands more now fill this space. Meanwhile, inside the Capitol, Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence have begun certifying the 2020 presidential election results. Certification will happen on both sides of the building, in the House and the Senate. And this is what the rioters want to stop. An hour into the assault, the mob is battling a police line here.
Yeah. Who can forget when XQC called in to understand what the fuck was going on? And his first reaction was, dude, what do they have, like, rocket-proof doors, dude? Why don't they put the machine guns, dude, at the doors, dude?
Here, along the west face of the Capitol. But that violence is now going to spread to multiple points of attack, as West Side rioters stream around the Capitol and incite the crowd on the east. Here's what that crowd looks like on the east. They're aware of the siege happening on the west side, and some are emboldened by it. But up until now, they've been kept behind the barricades. Then, this group from the west storms around the building and pushes right through the barriers. The police here barely put up a fight. And it's now that protesters all along the east barricades surge forward. Officers are overwhelmed from several directions. And retreat to guard Capitol entrances. But these rioters believe they've been deputized by their president to stop a crime. And now they start trying to get into the building itself.
Dude, I remember this happening in real time. It's like a zombie invasion, dude.
The Capitol is now surrounded. Rioters haven't made it inside yet, but around the time that the mob on the east pushed forward, rioters on the west were making a pivotal move. This scaffolding was erected for the upcoming inauguration of Joe Biden. It covers a staircase that gives direct access to an upper level, and dozens of doors and windows. 3 police lines guard that route. But at ground level, officers are so overwhelmed that just a few cover this crucial access point. Several Proud Boys see the weakness.
These aren't real stairs. They're funneled over here. Stairs are right there. That opens.
Proud Boys start fighting the police, and with others in the mob, they push through the line. Over several minutes, it's a brutal fight on these steps.
It's kind of funny thinking, like, I mean, this happened 6 months ago, right? And it's kind of wild that that's all it takes for, this guy's a hammer. That's all it takes for people to just act like it was totally normal. And that it's just not a big deal and people shouldn't freak out about it. So much so that conservatives have started getting into the counter messaging around it, i.e., who shot Ashley Babbitt? Why do we not have answers for who shot Ashley Babbitt? Like, they have made out this QAnon person who is a victim. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she was a victim. She was first a victim to QAnon, which radicalized her, and then also a victim to police violence. But now conservatives are making it seem like she was there doing something honorable and defensible. Like, it's wild how quickly we have forgotten.
At one point, the rioters are held back.
I've never seen up close footage like this, though. This is kind of cool to see.
But they make a final push up the flight of stairs. At the top, they scuffle again with a small group of officers.
She deserved it, in my opinion. She had no reason to be there. I disagree. No, I said it back then, and I will say it again. She did not deserve to be murdered, dude. No shot. Yeah. Handcuff her. Okay. Detain her. Fine. No one deserves to be murdered, dude. You guys are crazy. Like, a lot of chatters unironically have the opinion that, like, you know, an instance of police brutality is acceptable if it's done to my enemies. And sure, you might actually have the correct worldview that's more ethical and more, more caring and considerate of marginalized groups versus Ashley Babbitt, who does not. But you're still unironically saying that, like, the state should have the monopoly on violence on people that it decides is bad and should be murdered.
Who give in after barely a minute.
Stop following orders! Stop! You know we're right! You know we're right!
The mob now has direct access to Capitol entrances.
I can't believe this is reality. We accomplished this shit.
And hundreds more protesters surge forward.
Let's go! Seize his arms!
It's utter mayhem, and it's about to get worse. The scene is being filmed from countless angles, allowing us to piece together, moment by moment, what comes next. Proud Boy Dominic Pizzola uses a police shield he stole to bash in a window. 2:13 p.m, the Capitol is breached. Michael Sparks, a Trump supporter from Kentucky, is the first person inside. A police officer seems unsure of what to do and backs off. Sparks is followed by Proud Boys and other far-right extremists, one carrying a Confederate flag, another armed with a baseball bat. When rioters break open the locked doors, hundreds more rush in. This is a critical moment. Officers must now defend the outside and inside of the building, stretching them even further. Simultaneous events now happen that are critical to lawmakers' safety. Right straight for the Senate and will be at its doors in 2 minutes. Above them, the Senate is called into recess.
We'll pause. Protesters are in the building. Thank you.
members will evacuate down these stairs. In this hallway directly overhead the rioters, Officer Eugene Goodman is sprinting to overtake them. He passes Mitt Romney, who he warns to turn around. Reinforcements are following behind. Goodman overtakes the mob, goes downstairs and intercepts them. He holds them off while backup arrives upstairs. Behind these rioters and just feet away is an escape route where lawmakers and Senate staff are now fleeing. Just one officer stands guard. Keeping his composure, Goodman draws the mob away from that escape route to where reinforcements are waiting. He glances toward the Senate and realizes a door is unguarded. Goodman shoves the protester again, lures the mob away, and brings them into that line of fellow officers.
Is that baked Alaska?
Again, the rioters here are convinced.
I don't care what you say for Goodman did a fucking good job. No, I think he did. He did. I remember watching him. I don't know what his name was at the time, but I remember him like literally getting swarmed by these fucking sickos.
Their duty to defend democracy.
Hey, look, takes one to know one, okay? Hogs, kind of good at hog wrangling when the moment comes. You know what I mean?
The officers hold them off here, for now. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Capitol, a few political leaders are evacuating.
Hey, guess what, by the way? He didn't murder anyone. I'm just saying, like...
from the House of Representatives. But despite a lockdown alert, proceedings here will resume.
The House will be in order.
We'll go there soon. First, we'll go to the crypt in the centre of the Capitol, below the rotunda. The mob is already at its entrance. If they get through here, they will more easily fan out across the building. Rioters jostle with police here for 6 minutes, and then flood through. It's now 2:24, 90 minutes after the siege began, and the mob is about to overrun the building.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
As this is happening, and as thousands more swell outside, Trump composes a tweet, not to calm his supporters, but to blame his vice president. He writes, "Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution." At this very time, Pence and his family are being taken to safety, along with an aide who's carrying the country's nuclear launch equipment. At 2:25 p.m, there's another major breach on the opposite side of the building, the east side. Rioters have been battling a handful of officers at these doors for almost half an hour. The tide turns when rioters who came through the crypt reach these doors and pull them open. Then an active duty Marine Corps officer, Christopher Warnagiris, keeps that door open for the mob to flood in.
Yeah, we are one of you. Exactly. He's right.
Just as elsewhere, this crowd is a mix of die-hard Trump supporters, but also more organised groups like the Oath Keepers. Just as elsewhere, this crowd is a mix of die-hard Trump supporters, but also more organised groups like the Oath Keepers, who move in formation here toward that east side entrance. The Oath Keepers and their supporters continue to update each other on the Zello chat app.
is in recess. We're going to yank them out of their seats.
The group enters the Capitol together. Proud Boys are near them, including Joe Biggs, the organiser we saw earlier. He's entering the building for a second time. The Oath Keepers fill the rotunda, along with hundreds of other rioters.
Took over the Capitol, overran the Capitol. We're in the fucking Capitol, bro.
Now the police inside the building are completely outnumbered and call for backup.
We need some additional squads in the rotunda. It's us versus about 200 people.
Throughout the Capitol, staffers have barricaded doors to keep the mob out. In Nancy Pelosi's chambers, staffers rush inside a conference room and lock 2 doors behind them. Just 12 minutes later,
I will repeat once again. The way that cops actually treat Black Lives Matter protesters are completely unacceptable. Okay? The escalation and the use of force in most of the BLM protests are completely unacceptable. Not because of their political point of view or anything like that, but it certainly is the reason why they behave that way. But this is one instance where they should be using that level of escalation and violent use of force. Because this is an instance where you are supposed to be protecting an area that, at the very least, needs to be cleared out. Once it's cleared out, they're going to fucking go in there. They're going to take photos, arrest all of them after the fact, jail them. Who gives a shit? Fuck them. Okay? As long as the staffers and the congressperson have been evacuated, that should be your main goal. Kettle and corral, baby. What happened? I thought that's what cops do.
rioters outside head straight for her offices and pile in. Huddled together under a table.
Leftism is about, and I hate to just openly say it, leftism is, or being anything beyond like aesthetically a lefty, means that even if you feel secretly deep down inside good that some fucking QAnon sicko got shot, you still have to fight against that urge, no matter how fucking bloodthirsty you may feel at that moment, okay, and see red. Because that's not how you create an empathetic system. You need to be empathetic, and you need to be understanding, and you need to, you know, push back against your primal urges that scream inside of you like, no, these are fucking psychopathic right-wing terrorists. Okay?
Pelosi's staff record what's happening.
We need Capitol Police, I think, coming to the hallway. They're pounding on doors trying to find her. Yeah.
One rioter tries to break into that same room. Inside, staffers are silent as they record him pounding. He gets through the first door, but the second door keeps him out. It's a scene that again shows just how compromised the US government has become. By 2:30 p.m, the Senate evacuation is well underway. But, even though a lockdown was called over 15 minutes ago, the House is still in session.
Do not accept Arizona's electors as certified.
Representative Jim McGovern is chairing. He told us he wanted to finish hearing objections to the election results by Paul Gosar. House staff and security gave McGovern the all-clear to continue. It's a delay that likely costs someone their life. Suddenly, staff are now pointing at the chamber's doors.
Please be advised there are masks under your seats. Please grab a mask, place it in your lap, and be prepared to don your mask in the event that we get a breach.
Just outside, a mob of 100 or more is baying to get into them.
Well, we came this far. What do you say? Drag them out!
These rioters pay little heed to the thin line of police.
They're going. Yeah, I would just stop, bro.
And in moments are pushing against the doors into the house. On the other side, Capitol Police erect a barricade and
You're a traitor!
On the floor, lawmakers are evacuated to the rear of the chamber, where in a few minutes a rioter will be shot and killed. Part of the mob outside now peels off in that direction to find a different way in.
No, people are running that way.
Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran and QAnon supporter, is among the first to arrive at the rear of the house. They see the lawmakers escaping. That lobby might have been clear had the house been evacuated sooner, but the rioters now become incensed. Zachary Allen, a Trump supporter in Pennsylvania, punches in the glass panels with his bare fists. Police are stretched extremely thin.
$300 hat. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Canada Goose hat, by the way. Canada Goose hat, by the way. Working class, by the way. I mean, you can be working class and have a Canada Goose hat, but just remember that all of these dudes are like small business owners. Not a single one of them are like real fucking workers, because real workers were too busy working to be able to take a fucking week off to do a fucking terrorism vacation in the Capitol.
Just 3 officers and a security staffer stand guard. None are wearing riot gear, and they keep their weapons holstered.
It's fucking nuts that this was like... It's nuts that this is the little amount of security that they had.
When a team of heavily armed police now arrives, the 3 officers step aside.
Go! Let's go! Get this shit!
This creates a crucial gap that allows rioters to smash in the glass. A warning, what happens next is graphic. It's 2:44 p.m. and behind the door, a police officer draws his
Here, I'll show you up to this point. They're like...
handgun.
They're breaking the fucking window.
There's a gun! There's a gun! Hey, he's got a gun!
The cop literally fucking pulls his gun out. They say he's got a gun. And then that's the moment where Ashley Babbitt gets killed behind this barricade. From behind a barricade, a cop just pulls his gun out and shoots Ashley Babbitt.
Babbitt vaults into the window.
Here's Ashley Babbitt's last moments, vaulting through the window, trying to get in.
And the officer shoots her once.
Boom. At this point, the entirety on the other side, the entire fucking armed police force is like literally right there. As the New York Times also pointed out. Start fucking tear gassing that hallway. Beat the shit out of Ashley Babbitt. Take advantage of the barricade that you've placed. Start tasing people. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's a fatal wound through the upper chest. Inside the chamber, the floor is clear, but lawmakers in the balcony are sheltering in place.
Everybody stay down! Get down!
Yeah. The fuck?
Take your pins off.
Pins off.
They now remove the breast pins that identify them as members of Congress. A group of rioters who almost made it to the balcony are held at gunpoint as it's finally evacuated. Their goal, stopping the election certification.
Defend your liberty! Defend your Constitution!
And while the House is evacuated, at the other side of the building, the Senate is occupied.
Treason! Treason! Treason!
On the Senate floor, they leaf through lawmakers' files.
There's gotta be something in here we can fucking use against these scumbags.
Mug for photos. Pray. And leave a message for Mike Pence.
It's only a matter of time. Justice is coming.
As rioters inside have been rampaging throughout the Capitol, the crowd outside has grown, and that first battle has continued raging. For almost 2 hours, officers face off with rioters who say they support the police.
We've backed you forever! We've backed the blue forever!
But assault them anyway. We're going to show what happened here because it demonstrates yet again how failures by Capitol Police leaders to prepare put the safety of these officers at risk. Capitol Police had been ordered to withhold some of their stronger weapons. But as soon as Robert Glover, a Metro Police inspector, arrives, he calls for his munitions team to help.
Cruiser 50, give me a DSO team. DSO team. DSO team to respond to the west front of the Capitol.
When the building is breached, Glover knows he needs to retreat and seeks advice from Capitol leaders.
I need a command official from Capitol so we can coordinate where they want us to pull back to. We cannot hold this without more munitions or more manpower.
But Capitol don't respond. He asks 4 times.
I need to know.
Again, remember kettling and corralling, use of fucking force that greatly escalates the situation, and what my opinions were on it with respect to the Black Lives Matter protests? This is when you're supposed to do those tactics, okay? This is an instance where you're literally supposed to do that. I hope you understand that. That is a gross escalation of force that is only appropriate in certain circumstances. This is an actual mob where it is appropriate to use that. Tear gas, rubber bullets, kettling and corralling, pushing them into choke points, and then, zip tying all of these fucking hogs as quickly as you can.
Capitol, wherever they want to pull back to.
I don't know, Hassan, if you didn't tell me this was January 6th, it would just look like a normal tourist visit. Yeah, exactly. A normal tourist visit where I will be pushing up couches and stuff and pews to the doors in the halls of Congress. I do stuff like that all the time on normal tourist visits.
Police lose the line.
There's a bit that we lost the line. We've lost the line. OMPD, pull back.
We the people. We are the storm.
Rioters knock an officer over, throw a fire extinguisher. Glover issues a 1033, a call of last resort.
1033, I repeat, 1033, west front of the Capitol. We have been pranked and we've lost the line.
People on the 1033 have all units respond to assist him. Do what we're trained to do.
Crazed rioters hound the police even as they retreat to the upper level.
Get out of here! Take your big sorry asses back up in there! Run your sorry asses off!
Police now begin to guard this doorway, an iconic centerpiece of presidential inaugurations. But for another 2 hours, the same pattern will repeat. Rioters fill the terrace, instigators trigger a frenzy, and tragically, someone will die. A brutal fight erupts in the doorway. The mob heaves in a coordinated scrum. And when police finally push them out, they face even worse violence.
Like my visit to the Capitol, me too. I'm always going to the Capitol and doing stuff like this.
They are tased, gassed, and robbed of their equipment. They're beaten with a crutch, a hockey stick, and even an American flag. At least 4 officers are pulled into the crowd.
The fact that they didn't just go balls to the fucking wall, buck wild, like many different moments even before this, and certainly after, blows my fucking mind, dude. Like, why do we have a police force, dude? Like, you literally do nothing, dog. You do nothing. This is where you're supposed to be aggressive. It's fucking insane, dude.
One dragged by his own helmet, face down. And again, the frenzy turns fatal.
I mean, they're not, that person wasn't dead, but still, it's just like, I worry about showing certain stuff.
Roseanne Boyland, a Trump supporter who has been swept up by QAnon conspiracies, moving toward the door. But amid the scrum, she collapses and is lying unconscious beneath the mob.
That person that fucking collapsed and they trampled over her was literally waving, fucked up, but I was literally waving a "Don't tread on me" flag. The irony is just aggressive.
As the crowd sarcastically chants a Black Lives Matter slogan, Boylan's friend, Justin Winchell, tries to pull her to safety. He screams for help.
You can't see her, but he's like literally looking for help. That's a different person, by the way. That's not, that person didn't die.
But instead, fellow rioters trample over Boyland and charge at the police again.
Look at how horny these motherfuckers are. Look at this shit.
Boyland will be pronounced dead at a local hospital in the evening.
Those guys should have at least been charged with murdering Boyle. You know what I mean? They like literally trampled over her to get to the cops and killed a cop.
By the end of the day, rioters have breached and entered at least 8 locations. There's the first breach, which we've seen, when rioters smashed through 2 windows and a door. Beside that, a rioter with a crowbar smashes in a second door and then opens it to hundreds of people.
A couple cops killed themselves too.
Others smash a window next to the inauguration door and
two or
climb
one.
inside.
I don't know if it was related to this though.
At this entrance, police stand aside and allow rioters to stream in unchallenged. On the north side of the building, police in riot gear yield and let the crowd in. Another 3 breaches are on the east side, 2 by the central doors into the rotunda, and this southeast door leading to the House chamber. It's the arrival of more Metropolitan Police and other agencies that finally turns the tide. When those officers enter the rotunda, they clear it in just 20 minutes. As the mob is pushed back through the east doors, their rage turns to Mike Pence, who Trump attacked earlier.
I think if Ashley Babbitt... Okay, let me point this out again. I think Ashley Babbitt breaching through and lunging at someone is different than Ashley Babbitt getting shot while she's in the process of breaching. Okay? That's the difference for me as far as the use of deadly force. I'm not looking at it as an individual act of violence versus a cop doing an individual act of like disproportionate retaliation. I'm saying that I know that they're fucking bloodthirsty. I know that they're trying to break through. The issue is there is a mob there that is trying to break through. That is what is known as a choke point, okay? It's a bottleneck. That man is holding off the bottleneck. Defending a bottleneck by murdering someone is not the same as defending someone else's life that is in direct threat. If you consider Ashley Babbitt's murder to be justifiable, then you should also consider that all those other people that are trying to attempt to breach through that choke point could be killed. And it's justifiable. Like all of those other people that were like breaking the windows, like they should be killed as well by that same cop. I don't agree with that. I think that that is an indefensible position, especially when the armed police was behind them, but still the armed police was there and they obviously cleared it, not because Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed, but they cleared it because they were there. It's a show of force. In most of these circumstances, a show of force is all that's necessary. Their lines were thin. The cops' lines were thin. And that is the reason why they were able to be overpowered this way. But it wasn't because someone got killed where everyone was like, oh shit, we really got out of hand. Especially because if you think that murder is the reason why people de-escalated, then why don't you think murder in all the other situations would have further escalated the tensions? That's why I said I'm not even saying that he should not have used any force whatsoever. I did say that he should have used force. I just don't think that shooting someone in that situation is the justifiable use of force.
Here. Metro officers also stop other rioters from entering on the west side, where the mob first broke in.
I'm too libby on this tape. Yeah, dude.
But here too, we see a crowd empowered by the belief that they're carrying out some patriotic duty.
I was invited here by the president!
Over the course of the day, 150 police officers are injured. After 4 p.m, Metro and Capitol Police regain control of the upper levels. The final parts of the interior are cleared by other law enforcement, including federal agencies. Tear gas and flashbangs disperse the crowd on the inauguration terrace. The Virginia State Police and Arlington County Police help to reclaim that. Then rioters are swiftly pushed off Capitol grounds by a reinforced police line. Only now, more than 3 hours after Capitol Police first called them, do National Guard soldiers arrive.
You can defuse and turn down right now!
Troops were staging just 20 minutes away, but a recent procedural change meant the highest level of the Pentagon had to approve deployment. And Pentagon officials delayed the decision, partially in fear of bad optics, even as the Capitol was being overrun. As calm returns, the president tweets again. He repeats that the election had been stripped away, calls his supporters great patriots, and says, "Remember this day forever." The aftermath of January 6th has been as divisive as the lie that launched it. Even as one arm of government has indicted hundreds of rioters, Republican lawmakers continue efforts to normalize what happened with a mix of denials and conspiracy theories.
Some of the people who breached the Capitol today were not Trump supporters.
I knew those are people that love this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break a law, and so I wasn't concerned.
They include Paul Gosar, who'd been at the Trump rally,
Seeing peaceful patriots across the country.
and Andrew Clyde, who we saw earlier standing just a few feet from rioters. Republican leaders have blocked an independent investigation that could have brought new details to light.
I've made the decision to oppose the House Democrats' slanted and unbalanced proposal for another commission to study the events of January the 6th.
And in May, a top Republican was ousted from the party's leadership, thanking Trump for inspiring the riot.
And I think that the party, you've got to bring it back from.
None of what happened on January 6th would have been possible without a huge mass of ordinary people who were proud of what they achieved.
We stopped the mob!
Millions around the country still believe the violence was not only justified, but necessary. And the forces that brought them there have not gone away.
Yeah, the patriots are coming back, y'all. Hopefully y'all will be on our side when that happens.
I'm Haley Willis, one of the reporters on this investigation.
This is pretty good. This is a good video.